happening, guys? Allie here to give you an update on all the big wins from this past week by our great Rumpier Sports host and members. Our guy Uncle Dunkle led the charge with over 40K in NFL winnings for week 16. Huge congrats to longtime RPS member D-Rock for his 24K NBA hit on Christmas. The Lil Jordan Humphrey love was strong in the Discord on Monday and led to some huge wins on the Showdown slate. Surprise, surprise, BigT had another big night, pulling in over 100K across sites on the Dolphins Saints Showdown slate. This was just a few days after shipping another 150K in NBA. BigT wasn't the only one repping Rumpier Sports with a big hit. Shout out to Quick on to Cribs, who also took down 24K on Monday's NFL Showdown slate. Meanwhile, Tway Rich hit for over 35K across sites, and Joseph Swartz shipped 215K on DraftKings. The wins just keep piling up in the RPS universe, which could only mean one thing. There is no better time to join than right now. We've recently teamed with SaberSim to offer a great deal on a combo subscription where you can access all of our content and their great optimizer and projection system for one low price. Head on over to rumpiersports.com to get the deal now and start running pure with us.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Rumpier Sports NBA Hardwood Show. I'm your host, Mangone. I'm here with Hoop. I'm here with AP. It's a Monday. We usually got Title here hosting, but Title had some issues with the flight, so we got AP here with us. AP, how was your NFL Sunday? Despite the Chiefs losing their game, I think they'll be okay. They're still alive to be in the playoffs, and all you need is a good quarterback to get on a good run, and you guys got Mahomes. So are you pumped for the playoffs, and how is your Monday going?
Yeah, I mean, we do, but why is Andy Reid turning into Pete Carroll? They score 3 points in the second half. They're trying to establish the run when they have just Darrell Williams, who's like a better pass catching back anyway. That was tilting. I mean, 3 points, you honestly, I mean, it could be debate. I really curious to see everyone's opinions. I would rather, the worst case scenario happened with the Chiefs that game. They got that first down, and then at the very end there, when they're going for it, the only thing that you didn't want to do was a penalty. You could have allowed them to score a touchdown or try to stop them, but the last thing you want to do is a penalty, because then the game's over. They kick a field goal, and that's what happened. But I don't know. I feel like Andy Reid's kind of semi looks like a donkey at times. I would rather get the ball in Mahomes' hand to finish off the game. But yeah, it was, I stacked that game up really hard. I was, I felt like those first quarter NBA guys who screenshot their plays and yeah, we're going to win. All my lineups at halftime were right around 140, 130. And then that second half was very, very hurtful. So yeah, it wasn't the best day for me, but we got the NBA streets tonight and a fun slate.
Yeah, I was the other way. I was rooting home D-Will. I had a nice little Burrow D-Will chase, and it was almost stacked. So that was solid. Definitely got the job done. Was a fun game. So I was a huge fan of that one. I'm excited. I hope we get a rematch of that game, because that was just awesome. Obviously, it'd be fun for fantasy, but if we get to see that in the AFC Championship, you won't see me complain at all. I had fun watching that game. Hopefully, we get to watch those two shoot out again. I'm sure we will see Burrow and Mahomes in an AFC Championship at some point in their careers. I feel pretty confident in that. Maybe it'll be this year. Hoop, I'll go on over to you. How is the NFL Sunday, and then how is the Monday going here with some NBA here on the slate?
Yeah, ran pretty good to start the NFL 2022 DFS season. Fell on Devin Singletary on DraftKings. It was not a comfortable play, but playing him got me everything that I wanted. And obviously he had the big game, and then I had a lot of Darrell Williams as well. Played him on FanDuel, and it was a good week. I mean, that game was phenomenal. I agree. I'd love to see that run back. Really excited for the playoffs. I mean, it truly is a season where really anything could happen in the playoffs, and I wouldn't be surprised. There's 10 teams, I think, that could make a run, and I wouldn't be surprised. That makes it fun, and it really hasn't been that way for a while. Chiefs obviously should have won that game. I mean, no doubt about it. You just see it all the time in the NFL. When you take your foot off the pedal, it usually doesn't work out, especially on the road. You got to keep it. There's no reason they should only scored 3 in that second half. I mean, they're doing whatever they wanted in the first half. Keep it going. But yeah, it's fun times for NFL. Definitely looking forward to the playoffs. Like I said, this last week, the regular season, is an interesting one for DFS. A lot of situations to monitor and news to stay on track of all throughout the week. But we got a full NBA slate tonight, 10 games, a lot to get into in regards to that. So looking forward to the NBA slate as well.
Yeah, there's a ton on this slate for sure. We will dive in and talk about it. Before we talk about it, though, just want to say, hit that like, hit that subscribe on the video. Helps us out a ton. We really, really do appreciate it. And, the new year has kicked off and we don't got any promos running, but I'm sure we'll have something coming up soon. But it's a great time to sign up. Again, we got everything going on. Golf is right around the corner. So we got some golf content coming your way. We got all the sports for one price. We got UFC. We got the NBA playoffs or NFL playoffs, which that'll obviously be awesome. We have it all over here at Run Pure Sports. And once the NFL winds down, we'll have NBA Showdown content as well. So we still have it right now, but it'll be like way more of a focus, right? Because then the prize pools will be bigger and that'll be something that you'll want to be getting in on. So we got Showdown content, we got DFS content, and we got the betting content as well. So check it all out on our Run Pure Sports YouTube channel and at runpuresports.com and over at runpurebets.com and at Run Pure Bets YouTube channel. We have tons of free content over there as well. But listen, we don't got time to mess around too much. We got a pretty big 10-game slate and we don't want to be here forever. So we want to give those winners and then get out of the way of the premium guys who will take care of you and lead you up the lock. AP, I'll go to you first. Let's talk about the first game on the slate. And let's see. Let's start with the Charlotte Hornets and Washington Wizards. That's definitely what I want to talk about because, man, Bradley Beal's back, right? He's the real deal again. He looks good, and it's because they're missing guys, and they're missing Spencer Dinwiddie. They're missing Montrezl Harrell, which I think everyone underrates how when you have a guy in the second unit that can soak up so much usage like Harrell, well, that's going to hurt some of those other stars. And I think that has hurt Bradley Beal a ton. Bradley Beal crushed it the other day. He was very low owned. I'm not expecting that tonight, though. I do think he's going to get some ownership, but does he get a lot of ownership compared to Harden? Because it's a good debate because Harden, yes, he's more expensive, but he's in a groove again, AP. So how are you starting it off with Bradley Beal in this really good matchup against the Hornets?
Yeah, I mean, fantastic matchup here. Just looking at rotations, given their situation, Brad Beal, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Kyle Kuzma all played over like 39 minutes or more in their last game against the Bulls. Very competitive with those guys all on the court. I think Daniel Gafford got into some early foul trouble, if my memory serves me correct. And but man, a lot of things here. Like we know bigs do very well against the Hornets. Just so many opportunities for rebounds, so many opportunities for putbacks and block shots, which is one reason why we see these bigs do so good. But a lot of good plays here, like Brad Beal, Kyle Kuzma. The thing about Kuzma, he's 8K now. So I think he's more so a tournament play. I think that price tag is going to keep ownership down. But a few things with him, man. He's got 10 or more rebounds in the last 4 of his 5 games. And his last 3 games, he has over 20 points scored in each and almost hit 30 against the Bulls. So I think even at 8K, you can put him in at the small forward or power forward position. I think what you do if you're using an optimizer, SaberSim is what we use over here at Run Pure Sports. Give him a fair projection and just, what I'm saying is like, look to see where kind of the industry average is and then project them up. And don't put anything crazy in there, but give him a very fair projection. Just see where he lands at in your builds. Because I know you talk about it quite often, just that position flexibility can open up a lot of things too. So that's what I'm going to do with him. Brad Beal just seems like such a very safe play, has shown a ton of upside. And then even KCP, more raw scoring dependent. You need him to hit those threes. He loves to take them. But I would say he is in play with the minutes that he's going to get. And then Daniel Gafford, I think, man, if he gets 30 minutes here, I'm going to say it right now, he's getting 40+ fantasy points easy in this matchup. And I'm on the Wizards side. I mean, the one thing, if you want to get cute, which I don't think you need to here, but Kelly Oubre, a little revenge, against his former team that he played for many years at the Wizards. So if you want to go there, I mean, the Hornets are healthy though. I don't think you need to go there, but if you're a revenge guy, I just had to note that one.
All right. Well, another narrative note, if you want some Denny Avia, I think his name is, I can't say the last name, right? That's JT Hayes' job to let us know how to say it. But Mr. Denny is, he's 4.7K. He's going to be right off the bench and an early guy in, but it's his birthday. So hoop birthday narrative for old Denny. Can't ignore that, but we got Bradley Beal is a great option. I think Kuzma is underprojected right now, and I think you should boost him up. I think he's a really good play, even at 8K. It feels expensive, but I still think he's a good option, especially in this Hornets matchup. But Daniel Gafford at 6K, he feels like a really cheap one, but it just depends. Like, it's a 10-game slate. Do you want to use a center spot on Daniel Gafford? I'm not sure if I want to, but I do think 6K is a good price tag on him. I think Kuzma, 8K, it feels expensive. But I think there is merit to that. It could be 8.5. I mean, at the way that the role that he's in, I think it could be a wrong price tag still, as crazy as that sounds. And then Bradley Beal's another one that I absolutely love. And then I struggle with run backs on the Hornets. I don't really know what to do with them in this spot. I think that in MME formats, Mason Plumlee always has upside, I think. And with Gafford being out there and they're going to need his size, I think Plumlee could make sense, but he's not a priority for me in like 150 lineups. And I'm not really prioritizing too many of these Hornets, but I am trying to prioritize some of these Wizards too.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't have much more to add to the situation. I mean, I think you guys like nailed it pretty well. Like, love Bradley Beal. I think he's a phenomenal play. I mean, the situation that we saw on Saturday night, it's a similar one tonight, but even better. The matchup's better against the Hornets. It's a 232 total. He's doing everything, 42 minutes, shot the ball 20 times, 17 assists. He's not going to get 17 assists again, but he can have a big monster game here. So I love Bradley Beal, 9-1 on FanDuel, way too cheap. He's 10-4 on DK. I'm fine paying the 10-4. Kyle Kuzma, I think, is a really good play. 8K does seem somewhat expensive for Kuzma, but you're looking at a guy that's going to play close to 40 minutes here in a close game, and he can contribute across the board. He shot 12 for 18 last. He's going to shoot probably around 20 times in a good matchup here against the Hornets. Gafford, phenomenal play. KCP is a guy to definitely keep in your player pool. And then on the Hornet side, not a ton of interest, honestly. They're trending towards being healthy. They had a tough run with everything not too long ago. Well, now they're getting all their guys back. And on 10-game NBA slates, we want to be focused in on the teams that are running thin, not the teams that are getting healthy and their guys that are already, kind of priced up for the roles they have and everyone else we're out. So love the Wizards side here. Beal, Kuzma, Gafford, KCP a little bit. I think they're all phenomenal plays. And I'm sorry to break the news to you, Mangone, but I'm not playing the Denny Adija birthday narrative.
All right, we'll find some more along the way. You would play, I think you would play the old, you might play the Kelly Oubre narrative. You're just not playing him in, you don't play enough lineups, I think, to get the Kelly Oubre, right? Like, I get it, but these Hornets are hard to get into your lineups, right?
Yeah. If you're playing a lot of like for NBA, I'd never do the full 150, but if you are full 150 and you're loading up on the Wizards, like the Wizards are a team that probably in the best spot on this slate, you do want to mix in some of these guys for sure if you're doing a full 150 teams on SaberSim.
Well, one argument you can make too is it's the spread. So the total's 232, but the spread is minus 1.5 for the Wizards, which, like, man, when you get those games, then you have like Sixers and Rockets, which, don't get me wrong, I think Sixers and Rockets is a game that we are going to have to discuss and talk about, and there are some good plays. But with it being a 14-point spread, then you have to start counting the bodies, because if guys like Trevlin Queen are closing the game out and Daishen Nix, that's going to hurt some other rotations. And of course, the price tags, if you look at this entire Rockets starting lineup, the most expensive guy on DraftKings is Jae'Sean Tate at 5.2 on the entire slate. So you don't have these 8K guys that if they lose that rotation, it could absolutely murder them and just destroy them. And you just absolutely are buried in at the bottom of the leaderboards because of it. But these Rockets could lose a rotation if it does blow out. So it's something to think about a little bit, but I do think there are some good plays to discuss here. We are waiting on the Eric Gordon news, I believe. I still haven't seen that, but I think Jalen Green is going to run the point here. And I think Jalen Green, if you have no Eric Gordon, is going to be a great play. I think Jae'Sean Tate at 5.2K, I think he's way too cheap and a really amazing option, and probably one of my favorite options on the slate. I do think Daniel Tice is a good play at 3.5. We know he's a fantasy point per minute producer, and they don't have a lot of size. but you do have the fear of Daniel Tice can get into foul trouble. It is something that could happen. And if that's the case and he picks up too quick and then he picks up a quick third and the game blows out because he's not in there, it could be an absolute disaster. That is something to be concerned about. But the price tag is cheap at 3.5. AP, I'll shift on over to you to talk about this game because the Rockets are great to talk about here. And then the Sixers are they're kind of back to being healthy. And I don't feel like I want to jam these guys into my lineups despite the good matchup against Houston.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more surprised that Kevin Porter only has a 1-game suspension, throwing a fit for the coach there who was stepping in, acting as head coach. Man, how pathetic. Like, honestly, if you're coaching that team or if I'm there, I mean, set an example, and because that's just uncalled for. As
and these guys got to realize the only reason they're getting the playing time they're getting in the NBA is because they play for the Houston Rockets. And I get it's a frustrating situation, but if these guys were on different teams, if they're playing for Golden State or any of these better teams in the NBA, they wouldn't be getting nearly the opportunity they're getting right now. Yes, it's not a great situation. You play for the Houston Rockets, the team sucks, but you wouldn't be playing if you're on some of the better teams in the league. So, yeah, that's an unfortunate situation for sure.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But, honestly, if I'm Jalen Green, this is like your time to shine and to show that you are deserving. As I think he was the second overall draft pick last year. The kid has a ton of talent. He's going to run point. I love attacking Philly with opposing guards. I mean, we've seen – without Ben Simmons in there. I know Ben Simmons, not a good basketball player, very good defender, though. They haven't been as good against opposing backcourts. So I have a ton of interest in Jalen Green tonight. I think he's going to fly under the radar. I think he's a really good tournament play in MME formats because when you just look at the box score, you don't see a lot of good stuff. You don't see anything that like pops off the page. But a lot of context is taken out of there. Like, the last game, we only he played a whole half with Kevin Porter in there, but the game blew out, and so he did not play in the fourth quarter. Now we're going to get maybe full run, maybe not. Maybe this game also blows out, but still, if they keep it close enough, I think Jalen Green could absolutely get it done. Daniel Theis, he's going to have to play a ton of minutes. I also think KJ Martin, he's going to have to play a ton of minutes. I mean, they have no bigs. Like Jason Tate is going to have to play a ton of minutes, so they have no front court right now, and you're playing the 76ers, who have Joel Embiid, one of the better big men players in the league. So they're going to need size out there. They don't have a lot of size, but you got to think those guys are going to play a ton of minutes. Absolutely think they're in play. And then, on the Philly side, I actually like Tyrese Maxey in tournaments. I think he's someone that we can go back to in tournaments, had a phenomenal game against the Nets. And he looked good. So the other guy you can go to obviously is Joel Embiid. But again, paying that price tag if the game blows out is a little worrisome, which is kind of why I like Tyrese Maxey a little bit more here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Tyrese Maxey could easily have a big game. If I did play him, I'd make sure to run back some Rockets. That means it's probably closer and competitive. That's kind of, I think, how I would run that one. But I do think that some of these Rockets are in play. I mean, I kind of said it before, and I didn't realize it until I looked, but 5.2K is the most expensive tag on one of these guys. And they're not that they're expensive. They don't have as many guys. And on this slate, another thing I think you mentioned before is a lot of these bodies are coming back because of all the COVID stuff and all the price tags are up. And it is a 10-game slate, but it doesn't feel like a 10-game slate. It feels like a shorter slate because there's a lot of spots where you can just, not that you can cross off, but I'm not super interested. I know AP has some interest in the Sixers, but I'm not jumping to play some of these Sixers guys. So that's a spot where I'm kind of not really playing much. Not really playing much from the Hornets either. I mean, I think there's okay options that can get there. But the point I'm getting at is I think that with some of these teams getting healthier on their price tags, this is a slate where it feels a little bit shorter. So this Rockets value feels like it's more valuable, but at the same time, it's going to get some more ownership. So how are you handling these Rockets here in this spot?
Yeah, very underrated point that you bring up here. Yes. Is it likely that the Rockets get their ass kicked tonight and potentially get blown up by the 76ers? 100%. I mean, that's very likely that occurs tonight. But they're still projected to score 100 real points. And you have a team full of guys for DFS purposes that are 5.2K and below. So they're going to score 100 points, and all their guys are super cheap. So that means at least a few of these guys are going to pay off their price tags tonight. When we start going and looking at these guys individually, more interested in the front court. Daniel Tice, Jayshawn Tate. Tice 3.5K. That's a very good price that he's going to have to play a ton. The obvious drawback is a matchup with Joel Embiid, probably the best big man in the NBA, foul trouble risk, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't matter. He's 3.5K. If he gets us 20, we're happy. We move on. Jayshawn Tate, been in these situations all season long, and he does well when all these other guys are out. Obviously, would get a boost if Gordon were to miss too. Speaking of Gordon, I guess my interest level in guys like Jalen Green and even Matthews kind of contingent on what happens with Eric Gordon. I don't know what is his injury thing. Hamstring tightness. He always has like the hamstring issue. So I wouldn't be surprised if he sat too. So we'll get this news at 7 p.m. Eastern start time. 76ers side. Yeah, hard to invest in the 76ers tonight. They're favored by 14 here. If there was ever a spot to, hold back Embiid a little bit, this is certainly it. The one exception is Tobias Harris on FanDuel, 7.1K. I think that's a really good price tag for him. You can pay that off easily, even in a blowout situation. So love Tice, Jayshawn Tate, and then the guards for the Rockets kind of contingent on what happens with Eric Gordon. Not much interest in the 76ers, just like Tobias on FanDuel. That's it.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you there on that. Again, this is going to be an interesting slate, and we got news that'll come throughout the slate, I'm sure too. It's a 10 gamer, so maybe you don't want to lock yourself into some of these guys early on, but there's maybe some guys that are just too good of values that you want to just get in on them early. But there are some good plays, I think mainly the Wizards and the Rockets. But let's move on. 30 minutes from the start to the Memphis Grizzlies and the Brooklyn Nets, where James Harden, man, if you pull up that game log, he has been absolutely incredible. And you would think, okay, like Kevin Durant returning could hurt Harden, but not so fast. 74.5, 71.5, 77.5, and 75.5, and playing around 40 minutes each game. And he gets the Memphis Grizzlies 228 total. They're at home, and the Memphis Grizzlies are shorthanded. And this Memphis Grizzlies team, I don't think they're like a scary team defensively that you should worry about. I think Harden's going to be able to do whatever he wants. It feels like he's in that triple-double role, and he's smashing right now. He's 11.3K. Hoop, I'll go back over to you. What are you doing with James Harden? And then what are you doing with the Grizzlies on the flip side? Because there are some pretty interesting plays there, because the Grizzlies, they are a bit shorthanded here more than I think people still realize.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations with James Harden. When he gets in this mode, you want to keep playing him, and I think tonight is no exception. And you got a guy on the other side that could force the issue a little bit in John Morant. I mean, if John Morant gets going, Harden's going to be looking to get going as well. So definitely like Harden. 11-3 on DK, pretty easy to play him tonight. We're going to have a lot of value plays. So definitely have interest in him. In terms of the Nets, that's about it. Another team that's kind of trending towards getting healthy. I would much rather just play Harden right now than Durant. They're similarly priced, so that decision's pretty simple. Then on the Grizzlies side, yeah, they're thin. Without Melton, no Xavier Tillman, Kyle Anderson just went out, so they're missing.
Here's the best way to put it in perspective, right? They're starting five: John Morant, Desmond Bane, Killian Tilly. They don't have Anderson, which is fine. We don't want to roster him anyways. Jaron Jackson, Steven Adams, and then the bench is Tyus Jones, Brandon Clark, and then it starts to go to Santi Aldama, right? Like that's where you start. When you start seeing those guys there, man, it just starts to get really interesting, because that's just how weak they are. And sure, they will mix and match some of these other guys that are below them, but they won't give them like 20 minutes. They are still going to keep a pretty tight rotation. Like Ja's going to see his 34 to like 38 minutes. Bane's going to see his 34 to 38. Like these guys still have a pretty tight amount of minutes they're going to get. And I also don't feel like Bane will lose his run or Ja. And the reason why they won't lose that run is sometimes it gets a little bit smaller. And what happens is Jaron Jackson also can get into foul trouble. Steven Adams can be dusty, and they'll just take one of those guys out and they'll play the five more. Like Jaron Jackson might slide to the five, or Jaron Jackson might not play the four. And then what happens is you see Ja and Bane have to take on a little bit more minutes. So that's the key part, I think, with this Grizzlies team we're seeing.
So yeah, really, you're looking at a true, probably like 7-man rotation. Yeah, they'll mix in some of these other guys, but it's slim, and they're not going to play these random dudes who I've never heard of a ton of minutes here. So I mean, the problem is the price tags. I mean, Morant is up there now, close to 10K on both sides. You got Bane, who 7K-ish range on both sides. It's getting to a point where it's tough to click those names, but Tyus Jones is cheap. Brandon Clark is cheap. They're going to have to play minutes here, probably into the 20s. I'd be okay definitely looking to either of them as value plays. Jaron Jackson, the issue with Jaron Jackson. He's a solid player. Does he stay out of foul trouble? Does he get into foul trouble? Typically, if he avoids it, he has a pretty good game. The Grizzlies are in a good spot. I'm looking forward to this game. Grizzlies have played some solid basketball, 228 total, and that's our favorite by 6.5 here. But, Harden on the net side. And then, if you can make it work with some of these Grizzlies, I definitely have some interest, not going to go overboard on the Grizzlies here, but they're a thin team, and these guys will play a lot of minutes in a close game.
Yeah, I do think these Grizzlies are definitely good options. Guys, please hit that like, hit that subscribe. 430 if you're watching, 135 likes. So get those likes up. AP, let's shift on over to you and talk about this game because this is a game, again, it starts early on. It's one we can't ignore. It starts at that 7:30 mark. And you got 3 games that you do have some interest in early on here, I think. So what are you doing here with this game? Because I like Ja Morant a ton. I think Desmond Bane is another guy. I think he's underprojected. I think both those guys are guys that I'm going to boost when I kind of go through my MME over on FanDuel. And I think on DraftKings, I would be boosting them up a little bit too. And then if you look, James Harden, are you just going back to the well with him? Because if you had to pick James Harden or Bradley Beal AP, I think it's a really tough call. And maybe the answer is just play both and find some value plays AP.
Yeah, this game is definitely really interesting. High total. And slow-mo Kyle Anderson isn't in there. So the one thing Jenkins, the Grizzlies coach, always does, he finds a way to give these random dudes a little bit of run. So we could get 10 guys that see the court here, but they're not going to get a ton of run, like you both said. So the other thing too, how I like to attack the Nets is with stretch 4 types. I think it's a great spot for Jaron Jackson. The problem with him is foul trouble. Honestly, in tournaments, again, this is just such a smash spot. It looks like he's flying under the radar, but if the Grizzlies are going to stay close, Jaron Jackson needs to have a big game. And then Desmond Bane and Ja Morant, those are the guys that we're looking at. Maybe a little Brandon Clark off the bench there, especially if the Grizzlies go small, which I definitely think they could here. If Aldridge is out, you can see both sides go small, which is just going to benefit Jackson. It's going to benefit Brandon Clark, Desmond Bane, and Ja Morant, the guys that we want to have main interest to. What I love about the Nets side, it's really easy in DFS formats right now. If you look at that game on the heat map, you'll only see James Harden and Kevin Durant. No one else, in my opinion, is in play. I think you both agree with that as well. I'm going to keep riding James Harden. I think I think his legs are back. I think he's seeing the court better than he ever has. And we've seen him post 2 more big monster triple doubles with Kevin Durant on the court. So until something changes, I think the ball is going to be in his hands. He's going to run the offense, and Kevin Durant's going to primarily work off the ball.
Well, one thing has changed, AP, the price, but 11.3, I don't think that's expensive yet, right? You saw LeBron recently, and LeBron, you just kept playing him, and then boom, he's gotten really expensive. So I think that's a key thing too. Do you think that 11.3 price tag is still too cheap? Where is the tag that you would start to pause? I think for me, I would think about it the 12.2, 12.5. It always depends on the slate too, but what's your thoughts on that? Because I think it's still too cheap.
No, it's fine. You got to weigh it to the other studs on the slate, but no, 11.3 is definitely too cheap when he's going to get all the usage.
Yeah, one more thing to talk about with this game. I do think the Lamarcus Aldridge, I believe he's still questionable. And if Claxton plays, that does help Harden if he's the starter, because those guys just work really well together. So that's something else to watch as well. And Claxton, I think at 5K, if there's no Aldridge, I think that would put him into play as well as a pretty interesting option. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about the next game. Before we do that, I do want to mention something. We got a couple guys who at Rumpure, they're giving away some tickets, and they wanted to do it on the show, but I kind of had an idea. I said, I said, Stephen Coy, he wanted to give away a couple tickets. He wanted to give away 2, cheaper ones, the $20 Millie Maker ones, but he wanted to give those back to someone. And I said, why don't you do this? Find 2 guys who you think are always positive in the Discord chat, right? Spreading good mojo, all that good stuff. And he picked 2 guys and wanted to announce them on air because I think Steven wanted to have that done. So we got the 2 people he picked were and I'm trying to find it here. Oh, he picked Holmes 33, and he picked K Falik. Actually, no, he didn't pick K Falik. He picked K Falik Burner. So K Falik doesn't need $20, right? Right? K Falik is out there on some trip. He never wants to take money from us. K Falik is a rich man. He doesn't need that ticket, but it'll go to K Falik Burner. So congrats to those guys. And then one more person wanted to do it too. Nick, he wanted to give it away. Nick Story, he said, who are the guys who want to give to? Slick Rick 615 and then Nas God. So those guys are going to get some tickets today. So congrats to them. Gave them to guys that are good members in the chat. So that was awesome there. Let's move on though. Let's talk about the next game. Let's talk about the Utah Jazz and the Pelicans, which that's an 8:00 start. And yes, there were some good plays we've already talked about, but Hoop, are there better plays in the Pelican game if guys sit here? Because there are some injuries that we are waiting on. So what are you doing here with the Pelican side? Because it's definitely one of the bigger spots on this slate that's an unknown right now.
Yeah, this game kind of starts a stretch of games here that not super interesting for DFS purposes. I think they said Valanciunas is in, right? Like he was questionable, but now they said he's going to play. So really we're waiting on Brandon Ingram, correct?
Yeah, the Brandon Ingram stuff is important. And then I thought, was there anything on Valanciunas or not?
Valanciunas, they had listed him as like questionable, doubtful, but then they came out and said he's going to play. So he's confirmed in.
One thing that's out there, Hoop, they've done this. Like I wouldn't be shocked if he randomly went back down to like a game time decision, at like 7:30. That could happen. I don't think it will, but it's definitely possible, and we've seen it before. Yeah,
for sure. But, as it stands now, if it's just Ingram that's out, I don't know if that's enough to move the needle on this slate against the Utah Jazz. I mean, it's no secret. A matchup against the Utah Jazz is not great. It's one that I typically like to avoid, and it's worked out well for the past couple of seasons. It's just kind of a mismatch. And then on the Jazz side, you have a team that's basically back to full strength and fully priced. I mean, there's not many price breaks in this lineup. Mike Conley at 6.3K. Yeah, if I'm going to build 150 teams, I'd probably keep him in my player pool. But I just don't have much interest in the Utah Jazz when they're close to full strength, which is where they're at right now. And then on the Pelican side, like I said, Valanciunas, if he's in 9.6K on DK, you can't pay that price tag in a matchup against Rudy Gobert. Brandon Ingram, if he sits, okay, a boost for Josh Hart, a boost for Devontae Graham. But they're not like super, super cheap by any means. So most likely I will be, off this game and, underweight in 150 if you're going that route tonight.
Yeah, there's definitely some adjustments that need to be made if we get news. And man, it's going to be tough. Like Devontae Graham definitely could be in play. Josh Hart, not bad. Herb Jones, I like Herb Jones. I think if more so if Valanciunas is in, I feel like with Valanciunas out, like Hernan Gomez just kind of takes up too much. Sometimes can be a problem, but maybe that's wrong. I think Herb is definitely shown some upside though. And with Valanciunas out, you definitely would like that. I think with Ingram being out, that would help Herb a lot too, because I think it helps him for some peripherals. That's really big and gives him a little bit more shot attempts. So AP, I'll shift on over to you because this is a spot where you could have value plays that are better than the earlier ones if the news hits right. So what are you doing here with this Pelicans and Jazz game?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've spent too much time already talking about a Jazz and Pelicans game. No, like Hoop said, like you said, it's, man, anytime like it's a good sized slate and the Jazz are on it, I've been under projecting their guys unless like they're running on an 8-man rotation, which is not.
And honestly, just to add on to that, think about when is a situation like this popped up and you got burned. Like I can't think of one time. I mean, yes, it's obviously happened, but like it's rare to get burned by a Jazz game on a 10-game slate in this situation where they're favored by 10. It just simply doesn't happen.
The way I got burned, well, I can't remember what it was, but the team playing them only had like 8 or 9 dudes. And so I got burned by playing those guys. Jazz, very good defensive team. I mean, maybe Josh Hart, if Brandon Ingram's out, just because Josh Hart has really elevated his game to another level. But no, I'm going to be heavily under on this game.
All right. Yeah, I'm different. If the news hits, I definitely want to consider some of these Pelicans, but they're not as a great spots as it was in the past. I think they're still good plays. Nikhil Alexander-Walker's back too, and that it will soak up some usage, and he could slide in the starting lineup and mess some things up. So kind of have to like navigate that situation. It's not something I'm planning for, but if I have the spots, and the news hits, I'll look into it. I'll make sure to do my research. I'll do my due diligence and make sure that I get exposure to them if it's necessary, but not a spot I'm just like backloading for and saying I need to be on these guys. They're amazing plays. Let's move on over. Let's talk about the Pistons and the Bucks, where we got Cade Cunningham returning. We got Killian Hayes returning, and Hamidou Diallo is 8.7K. Sadiq Bey is 8.5, and they returned some of their better usage players. Man, this seems like a great fade spot for the Pistons. And then on the opposite side, feels like a good fade spot on the Bucks because their prices, 8.5 still for Drew, feels a lot. Middleton at 7.8. Yeah, he could get there, but I think it's unnecessary. And there's better plays on this slate to go to at a similar price tag. And I'm not paying 11.8 for Giannis when I could pay from other guys. You could make an argument. Yeah, you might get Giannis really low owned, but I'm out on that. Hoop, you're our Pistons guy, so break it down for us. Man, this Pistons team, they've looked incredible the past couple of games with Diallo and Bey, but I don't know what to do with them. I'm out.
Yeah, they've treated us well for DFS purposes, but that probably comes to a crashing halt tonight because they're fully priced and Cade's coming back, Killian Hayes is coming back. They're getting all their guys back, and the other guys are, 8.7 for Diallo, 8.5 for Bey. Just can't do it with Cade back. So you have to fade the Pistons tonight. And then the Bucks, they're 16-point home favorites. The one thing, though, Chris Middleton is questionable. If he were to miss, you could bring these guys in play a little bit more. Giannis, maybe Drew. But the problem there is, would you have Giannis or would you rather play Jokic up there? Would you rather play James Harden? I probably still would side with those other guys over Giannis. So long story short, another not less than appealing game for DFS purposes.
All right. And we did get some news. We got Maxey is ruled out. So AP, if he's in your Saberson builds, get him out of there. Also Thibault out. So you know what that means? We might be Shake Milton season. So I don't know. I think Shake, especially against the Rockets, is probably a guy that at 4-3, point guard and shooting guard eligible. I don't think I want to be ignoring him too much. AP, obviously you're taking Thibault out of your lineups. Are you adding Shake to the pool with that news?
Yeah, Thibault was never in my lineups to begin with. Defensive player. Don't traditionally play him, but yeah, Shake and bake time. He's a guy that can create his own shot, which he's going to be able to do against this Rockets team. So I think he's going to, he's definitely in a very, very good spot. The only thing you got to check is these guys coming back, do they have a game under their belt? How many, minutes did they play? And, what was the COVID situation severe? That's kind of the checkpoints that you need to make. And Shake has a game under his belt. He came off the bench, didn't have a best game, but the usage was there. I think it's going to be a great spot for him.
He played 11 minutes, which, he shot 0 for 6, but also I don't trust everything Doc Rivers says. So that's the other thing. I'd have to go back and really look at the rotations of that game. Maxey being out, right? Thibault being out. Those are two big pieces that are out. And Shake, he definitely could be interesting. So are you adding him to the pool? I think he's added the pool, but my issue is I don't know if I'm jamming him in, right? Because if I play James Harden and let's say I play Bradley Beal, I'm not saying I definitely play both, but if I play two of those guys, well, now I only got 1 or 2 guard spots left, and that can be a little bit of a problem on this slate. Or if we get some other guard values, like we talked about liking Jalen Green. Let's say Eric Gordon sits. Okay, well, Jalen Green at 5.2, he might be a better play than Shake Milton at 4.3. So guard could be deep when it comes to more of like a building 1 or up to 3 lineups. Of course, GPPs, it's easier to get exposure to a bunch of different guys, but I think Shake is in play, but he's not someone I'm jamming in my lineups right now.
As it stands now, I think he's a very strong play. If he's announced a starter, that would obviously make him even more appealing, but a lot of it depends on what other news we get. Is Eric Gordon in or out? I'm sure other things will pop up, before the slate locks. So, at 4.3, he's tough to ignore without Maxey. He's been in these spots a lot throughout the season, and he tends to do well, especially if he's starting. So, 7 p.m. Eastern game, we'll definitely get the news.
Yeah, and one more guy I haven't talked about is Anthony Simons. That's later on. That's another great guard. So the guard position feels a bit loaded on this slate, especially if what if we got news that I don't know, let's say another guard happened to sit and we had just infinite value at the guard position. It would start to make these decisions a lot harder. So I think that's worth calling out. But I don't think we got to talk too much else about the Pistons and Bucks unless AP, you want to touch on them? Because I'm out on that game. Hoop sounds like he's out on that game. Is it 3 for 3 for you?
No, Dwayne Casey has 16 dudes that he can play tonight. He's probably licking his chops. He's probably going to get all of them out on the court. So no, an easy situation to avoid. I will say, like, if you want to get different, the one guy in MME formats, I'm always keeping Giannis in my player pool, especially if Middleton's out. We've seen the guy put up 70 plus in just 30 minutes multiple times against these crappy teams. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's like halftime and Giannis is sitting on like 48 fantasy points and then gets it done in the third quarter. So that's where I'm at for this game.
All right. Well, Hoop, before we go to the next game, we got 500 watching and only 164 likes. So what's the number we got to get this up to? I mean, we're getting there. I mean, we're going to fly through, I think, some of these games towards the end here, but what's the number we need to get to for the people here?
Go 275. All right. We always try to go somewhere in the middle. Let's 275. And then we get the plays of the day and create some good mojo. Big night of sports. NBA. We got the NFL Showdown going. A lot of good stuff. So we need some good mojo. 275 is the number.
Yeah, and we had members give away like $120 in tickets today. Want to keep that good mojo going. So let's get that up to 275. You got enough games to push it home. Like we got We got 5 games left to push it home. So, but these are going to be fast in my opinion. I think we'll fly through it quick. Like Magic and Bulls. Like, Wendell Carter revenge game. Yeah, sure, but Mo Bamba's back. That's the only concern. If Mo Bamba wasn't there, maybe I'd be more interested. I think Franz Wagner, he has the upside to get there at 6'7", though. Do I really want to do it? And then Lonzo Ball, he's back too, and these prices are elevated. So I'm out on this game. I think I'm playing nobody from it. How about you?
Yeah, a situation here where two teams are kind of getting their guys back slowly but surely. And the problem in DFS, when teams, especially in this day and age where teams are getting their guys back, not only are they adding guys to the rotation, but the dudes that have benefited the most from those guys from being out, their prices have skyrocketed. And that's what you're seeing with all these teams, like the guys that weren't in the health and safety protocols, the guys that weren't injured. Yes, of course they crushed for DFS purposes, but the problem is the prices are up. So when they start bringing these bodies back, it is not a great situation, especially when we have good injury situations, good health and safety situations. So this is a prime example of a really bad game for DFS purposes. The Bulls they have all their main guys back. No real price breaks. They're all relatively expensive. If I was going anywhere, it would be Vucevic. I think Vucevic is a fine play, 9.2K against his former team. I know you're a narrative guy, Mangone, so Vucevic might be at the top of your list. In terms of Magic, though, no interest. Maybe Wendell Carter, but that's it.
No interest in there, despite the fun narrative. I'm out on it. Lamarcus Aldridge is out though, which that could help some of these guys here. It could help James Johnson. It could help Blake Griffin. It could help Claxton. There are some of these bigs I think that could get a bump here. So we'll have to see what happens with that 7:30 start. You might not get the starting lineups, but you could. I think Claxton is the guy that sticks out to me. I don't think we got to talk too much else about that. Let's move on though to the Magic and Bulls for AP. Do you have any interest in this? I don't know if you're going to be slamming that triple double bet like K Falik has been slamming. He's got some money to spend after a big weekend for K Falik in the CFB street. So maybe he bets the Lonzo Ball triple double first game back. Maybe he doesn't. It's a tough game to roster though, because Bulls, they are 14-point favorites. So AP, what are you doing here with this one?
Yeah. Shout out to K Falik. He had a monster college football day on Saturday. Build was awesome. Just, all around good stuff. No, the thing about the Bulls, that their main 5 guys are all back. They're all going to play heavy. You know what kind of minutes they're going to get, but they all take away from each other's ceilings. So while they might have an okay floor, I would argue that still at their big price tags, individually, they're even, kind of questionable plays. You need kind of like a perfect slate where there aren't these guys in that price range that absolutely crush it. And I don't think this is the slate where that happens, or you need DeMar DeRozan to go off like he has at times. But no, I'm off this game. And then, the Magic are another team that they get people back. Actually, no, I got one play I like. So Terrence Ross, and this is a MME play only. If I'm very unlikely, if I was playing one build, would I include him? But just go back and he was out a bunch of games, but something clicked for him. Like 3 games before he was out, And then it's like he came back and the guy just kept firing. 33 points last game, two games in a row for him with a gap in there, but a 40-plus DraftKings points. So in a game where they're going to need scoring against the Bulls, where they're underdogs, I could see Terrence Ross coming off the bench, just, firing away. He could also go like 3 for 17. We've seen him do that often in his career, sometimes even like 1 for 13. So definitely a risky play, but that's a guy that I've included there on the heat map as a tournament option.
All right. That's a tournament option for you guys. If you want, check out that heat map over here at Rum Pure Sports. AP's got all that stuff. And we got the cash chart up. We'll have the core plays up during the Up the Lock show. So check out all that. But let's move on to the next game. We got the Nuggets. We got the Dallas Mavericks. And Luka is back, but we got Porzingis out of there. And the prices are elevated on some of these guys. And man, Luka, like at 10-9, yeah, you can make an argument. Luka can always have a big game. He played 32 minutes against OKC, shot 14 shots, but I just think I'm out on Luka here on that. Like, I want to wait and see a little bit longer, or at least wait for the price to maybe go down. There's better studs I like on this slate. But yeah, if you want to be early on Luka, this is definitely a chance to, because I don't think people are going to really roster him. And on the flip side, we talked about people liking guards today. And if they like the guards, I don't know if Jokic is getting rostered as much at 12.4K. So Hoop, I think there's a lot of interesting options here. You can make a case for Will Barton at 6'2". You can make a case for Campazzo, even at 6K. I think you can make a pretty good argument for him. It feels expensive, but I think he is still in play in MME format. So break it down for me, Hoop. What are you doing here with the Nuggets and the Mavericks?
Yeah, the Mavericks are the tough team for me. I mean, without Porzingis, yeah, you assume you want to, go to Luka, but he was off for a couple of weeks, came back, played 32 minutes last night. Looked okay, back-to-back spot. I don't want to be on him. I'd prefer the other spends, like straight up him or Beale. Like I'm taking Beale for sure tonight. They're in a similar price range. Actually, Beale's $500 cheaper. Like I could not imagine clicking Luka's name over Beale's tonight. So yeah, I'm going to be out on Luka. I'll be out on the Mavericks, but the Nuggets guys, I do like. Obviously, Jokic, a premier spend, ran into foul trouble and a blowout situation last time, kind of busted, but this game's a 3-point spread. I expect Jokic to have a big game here. Will Barton plays a ton of minutes in close games, kind of does it all. Rarely busts for you. I mean, he has a nice floor for the most part. So I really like Barton. Campazzo just absolutely went off last game, and do I expect him to get 60 fantasy points? Fuck no. But at 6K, I think you can get us in the 30s again. And DK has done a pretty good job with their pricing, where they got a lot of those guys that we typically see in the mid-range. They bumped them up a little bit. So these are now like the mid-range guys, Barton, Campazzo. I think they're fine options. I'd probably prefer Barton over Campazzo. Jokic, Barton, Campazzo, and then I'm gonna be off the Mavs. I'm not playing Luka. Like I said, I just prefer getting up to Jokic. I prefer playing Harden. I prefer playing Beale over Luka tonight.
All right, AP, how about you? This game is one that I think it's got some good options, but it's not like just one you're loading up on. What are you doing here with the Nuggets, and what are you doing here with the Mavs?
Yeah, one of the first things I looked at was Jokic, because I was surprised by the ownership projections on him. And so then I dove in, I looked at the last game, and I was like, well, maybe people are assuming, with Campazzo starting, that's going to take away from some of his usage. We saw that he had 12 assists last game and everything. However, if you go back and look over the last 2 years, these two have over 200 minutes played together on the court. That's also assuming Michael Porter out. And actually, Jokic's numbers look better. So I'm not sold that Campazzo takes away from him, which, look, this is Jokic, same price as he has been, except for ownership is going to be a lot lower when everyone was playing this guy. I mean, even in tournaments, he was 40, 50, 60% owned. You're not going to see that tonight. So if you're playing tournaments, you should go right back to this guy. He has one of the highest ceilings on this slate. And, unless you think like the Mavericks are going to, or if the Nuggets are going to blow them out, which I looked at it and they're favorites in this game. So, or the Nuggets Dallas is favorite in this game. So that's not going to be the case. And we know bigs do very well against this Dallas team. So I have a ton of interest in Jokic tonight. I'm not going to play Campazzo at 6K. Like he had that game. It's just, man, that's tough to trust. For me, it's going to be Jokic, maybe a sprinkle of Will Barton. And then, I'm with you guys on Luka. So it was kind of a tough debate. I'm like, do I make Luka a fade or just kind of like a risky GPP play? The last time I made Luka a fade on any slate, which was a tough spot, I got to pull it up. I think he went for like 80. Yeah, against I forget what the slate was, but I think he went for like 80 fantasy points. So I'm very, very hesitant to make that guy a fade. But man, it's tough to play him coming off the COVID list. It's a back-to-back 31 minutes. I mean, man, if you're playing multiple lineups, like 150, maybe you get a sprinkle of Luka, but for me, I'm probably going to be off of him tonight.
Yeah, and people say
go ahead. No, I was gonna say one little extra nugget. Give me the Nuggets tonight too. 3 money line, whatever you want. Nuggets are winning this game. Like how's Dallas favored by 3 in this game? That just seems absurd to me. So the Nuggets are the winner tonight.
I mean, Eric Gordon will play with a hamstring.
Even I like that little pun there. Who? Give the people a little nugget.
Little nugget. Take the little nugget and go to the cashier's window.
The dad's loving the dad jokes right now. I'm sure the other ones in the chat will love it too. I will say people are talking about Bones Highland in the chat, and like I think Bones is wrong on this slate because I think guard is pretty deep. And like, yeah, that's the argument you can make against like a Campazzo or a Barton too as well. But at 3K, yeah, you can argue that the price is cheap, but he is coming off the bench, Bones Highland. And like, I don't know what he's going to be coming back. That's one of the issues with a lot of these guys. And I just don't, I mean, I guess you could take the shot in like MME, right? But I would temper your expectations a little bit with that. I would feel better about the guys who have been playing well. And yes, Campazzo's not getting 60 again, but I'm telling you right now, when you look at the numbers over the last week, Campazzo's fantasy point per minute is higher than what his projection is. It just is. Now, of course, that is playing into the 60-point game being factored in, but it's not like it's a 25 or 30-minute sample. It's like over 100-minute sample. It's pretty large amount that I was looking at with some of the guys off the court. So I do think that this is a spot where I'm going to consider Campazzo, even at 6K, not some guy that I'm loading my lineups. If he's like 2%, sure. I think that's pretty solid and something that you can consider, but guard is getting deep. That's one of the things to discuss here as we're breaking it all down. Again, hit that like, hit that subscribe on the video guys. We're at 232 with 550 watching. So we've gained 50 more that haven't even heard me say it, Hoop. So I think we'll get it home to 275. That is the number we want to get it to. I don't got too much else to really say about this game. Let's move on to talk about the Hawks and the Blazers, which is a good game for value. Anthony Simons, great play. Powell, I think he's still a good option at 6'5". I think Little is in play at 4'7", even though he's disappointed. Covington is back at 4'6". Don't hate him. And Larry Nance at 5'9" in play. And on FanDuel specifically, if you're playing MME, Dennis Smith Jr. at 4K is not someone to ignore completely. Yes, guard is deep, but you have some flexibility to move some guys to shooting guard. Maybe it can work out. Maybe it's not the right build, but I think these guys are in play. And the Hawks, they're gaining some guys back. Hoop, break it down for me. What do you want to do here with the Hawks and the Blazers?
Yeah, a very appealing game, I'd say, for DFS. No Lillard, no Nurkic, no CJ McCollum, a super thin team. Now, Anthony Simons activated. They haven't officially said if he's going to play or not. I'd assume that he is going to play tonight because they're going to need him. If he's in, best value play on the slate for sure. I think Dennis Smith at 4K on FanDuel, a very strong play too. Dennis Smith, his game suits FanDuel better anyway, and he's a lot cheaper over there. He always seems to, get the steals and the blocks, which we love on FanDuel. Norman Powell, phenomenal play tonight. I mean, he's probably their best chance at scoring basketball in a close game. He's going to play 40 minutes. They'll just run him out there. Little is fine. Covington, man, I don't know if I can do big, although he has been playing a little better lately. Might take that back. He's a rough season so far for Bob Covington, but a little bit better lately. Larry Nance is in play. You're going to want some trailblazers, I think, on your team tonight. On the Hawk side, I like Trey, better play on FanDuel though, 9.8K. I think Capella is a strong play tonight. Been playing better, 60 fantasy point game last time out. 40 minutes of playing time. I do like Capella tonight quite a bit. I don't think many people will be on him, but the main story here in this game is you're going to want some Portland guys in your lineups tonight. Super thin team. And again, they're projected to score 110 points. And that's a big boy number for a team that's without all three of their main guys.
Yeah, so the thing to watch with Covington, he hasn't played since the 21st, so that's something we need to monitor. And he has played better because he's been playing in those small ball lineups with Larry Nance, and that's going to be really key. He gets to play with Larry Nance. I know Nurkic is doubtful, but even if Nurkic plays, he's a guy that he takes some time to get back always whenever he plays. He doesn't like just come out there and play 35 minutes out of nowhere. Even if he played, I would not be as worried about it. But Covington, definitely a guy that I think is in the conversation, but I am worried about the minutes some, even though they are going to be shorthanded. But if the game did blow out, yeah, it'd be something to worry about. He's going to be one of the first guys off the court. AP, do you have any interest in the Hawks here? And then how are you handling the Blazers and a massive chalk option in Anthony Simons?
Yeah, I mean, if Simon starts, he's 4-1. We've seen these spots time and time again with Dame off the court, even when like Dame would play and CJ was off the court, where he just gets a ton of run. I mean, had a terrible game against the Jazz on the 29th, but still, 20 fantasy points, 3 for 13. He was going against the Jazz, that team we talked about not targeting players against. Different situation. No Dame tonight. Most likely is going to start. He's a free square. I'm going to have 100% exposure to him in MME tonight. And I I love that $15 on DraftKings because like with plays like this, we know they're not going to be 100% in that tournament, maybe like 65%, 55%. So by locking them in, I know I'm just going to be way overweight the field, and I'm just very confident in that play. Norman Powell's the other guy too. I'm going to be very, very high on. He's going to be one of their primary scorers. Then just think about it. A matchup against the Hawks. What do you need? You need points. The Hawks are going to pour it on here. I like the over in this game. Even without Dame, there's enough scoring options there. I'm looking at Ben McLemore off the bench, a proven three-point shooter, a guy they're going to need. He's coming off a game. I know there's some a little revenge there, but 6 for 14 from three-point range, 22 shots against the Lakers off the bench there. So tons of interest in him. He did check in early because Nasir Little was in foul trouble. So, I mean, that is something to keep in mind. But still, look at the bodies they have. I mean, this guy's going to play. They're going to need scoring options out there on the court, guys that can hit three-point shots to keep pace here. So, and then, look at the spread. The Hawks are favored by 5. That's a number I have. I don't know if it still is, but I don't know who. Maybe we go right back to the Hawks here because that's sort of it just seems like 7, 8 should be more of a correct number. The Blazers have just been terrible lately. So, but yeah, if it stays close, these guys are going to smash plays in DFS. On the Hawks side, I mean, Clint Capella, he's going to be in my tournament pool. We've seen big upside from him. No John Collins still, which is key. I know the Hawks are getting back a lot of pieces, but not the key pieces in John Collins that's going to take usage away from Capella. And it's Gallinari, it's Okongwu. These guys aren't going to, do anything to Capella. So Trae Young, Capella, very much in play here, especially if this game stays close. I think in tournaments, you want to have a couple stacks. Go Trae Young, Clint Capella, Simons, Powell, and then one other piece there. And just like a full game stack with 2 other pieces from other games. And I'm going to have a few of those in tournaments for sure.
Yeah, one more thing to mention too, you can understand guard ownership when the first couple of games lock. You can understand what Simon's actual ownership ends up being, because let's say we get news where there's a guard that's a good value because of news that we got early. You can also understand because Harden's going to lock in, because Beale's going to lock in. You can understand what Simon's ownership actually is if you kind of are monitoring everything, and maybe you get overweight, or maybe you realize, oh, I got to get underweight because he's 80% owned and maybe you don't want him as much. So that's something you can navigate to as well with the slate. Hoop, any thoughts here on the Hawks and Blazers, or we want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, Joe, I mean, I talked about it, same thing. I mean, you're going to want Portland guys in your lineup tonight with everyone out. Powell, Simons, Dennis Smith on FanDuel, Larry Nance, and the Hawks. I mean, I like Trae, and I agree with to me, 5 just seems light. And actually, it's funny because it opened up at 4 last night, and I hit it. I might hit it again because it just seems like the Hawks could, have their way here.
Real quick, don't you guys think though in tournament, a lot of people are going to have exposures to those guys. So if you're MME, very few are going to run it back. I think they're going to have Simons, Powell, and these plays in their build, and then they're going to go elsewhere on the slate. I think if you're MME, and it's a really sharp move to have a couple pieces where you're playing Trae and Capella and run backs with them, just in case you get that nut game environment.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I wouldn't want it like to be on too many teams. Like I wouldn't want like all my Simons teams to have Trae Young, right? Or like I think that's the way I would approach it is I would want to make sure that if I am playing Trae or a Capella, I have a couple of these guys ran back, but I would also want to make sure it's not like matching the exposure too much because these are really good plays that I think you want to be overweight on. You don't want just like one bad Trae performance, I think, to absolutely sink you. Let's go on to Miami Heat and the Warriors, and I got nothing to say. I don't think I want to play any of these guys. Yeah, I get it. Like PJ Tucker, he's back, but I think that Yurt 7 takes away from Jimmy Butler more than you want. I think Tyler Hero being in the lineup takes away from Jimmy Butler more than you want. Same with Lowry. All those guys together, it just isn't right. I think maybe Kyle Guy is like a deep MME play, but with Tucker being in the lineup there, I think that hurts his situation a little bit. And yeah, Kyle Guy could get some decent run in like a blowout maybe. That could help him out with some usage and he gets like a nice closeout. But I don't want to play them, and I don't want to play any Warriors with all these guys healthy now. So I'm out on this game. Hoop, how about you?
Next.
AP?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough spot. I mean, you could make the argument that the Heat are still thin. But, man, if PJ Tucker's back, that's going to kick Caleb Martin out of the starting lineup most likely, unless they start Caleb Martin and bring Tyler Hero off the bench. But, I mean, if you think this game stays close with Jimmy Butler, you can make that argument. But, man, the Warriors have been so good defensively. I don't think I'll be going there.
All right. We got 253 likes, 573 watching. So we've gained 25, and I don't know, the likes aren't moving their way. This is hurtful, Hoops. We got to get it home. If not, we're going to withhold those plays. And we got one play to talk about. Got the Timberwolves and we got the Clippers. And man, Timberwolves are kind of tough today. I think Ant Edwards makes some sense. And the reason why I think he makes sense is he's forward eligible. I think that forward eligibility helps him out a lot and picks up some of his ownership and helps get him into your lineups. I'm not huge on Naz Reid, but I'm also not huge on the power forward position. I am bigger on the power forward position on the Clipper side, where I like Marcus Morris, I think, at 6K. I like Serge Ibaka at 3.7. So these are all guys that are options for me on this slate. Hoop, how about you? How are you handling the late night hammer with the Clippers and the Timberwolves?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, a little bit of news to monitor. Kat had tweeted out like the eye emoji and Vince McMahon rushing down the aisle. So, I mean, does he have a chance to play tonight? I don't know. They have been cautious with these guys coming back, and they've ruled them out and had them do like conditioning and stuff before. So I don't think he plays, but it sounds like there's maybe at least a chance. So that's something to monitor. Curious to get your guys' take on that. But yeah, that would definitely take away from basically all these guys if he does play. But if he's out, which is probably what ends up happening, he probably won't play. Naz Reid, fine play. Anthony Edwards, a little bit concerned on the back-to-back. And but I definitely think he's in play here. Patrick Beverley's a solid option. I don't hate Malik Beasley in tournaments. And then on the Clippers side, Marcus Morris, phenomenal play at 6K. Terrence Mann, I don't mind it at 5.4. Reggie Jackson on FanDuel at 6K. Serge Ibaka, like you talked about. I mean, the minutes have been pretty disappointing for Serge Ibaka, but you know, he's been okay. I mean, it's been enough to not screw your lineups. He could ever play like 28 minutes, be in for a big game. We haven't seen that yet, but could be the case here. So it's a good game for DFS, 216.5. A lot of solid options in here, but we really need to get clarification on this Cat situation. I mean, are you guys just assuming Cat's out? I mean, I'm assuming he's out, but the tweet was a little bit weird.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, but I will say if he does play, that's going to hurt. I mean, you would think it hurts Ant, but the thing is, Ant hasn't been good. Ant has been like really bad without these guys. And I don't know if it's the conditioning necessarily, but I do think he has to take on more ball handling responsibilities. And I think what's happening is they're taking away a lot of his drives to the hoop. Now, if you have Cat in there, well, there's more driving to the hoop opportunities because Naz Reid is not as much down low there, crowding up the paint and some of those other guys. Now, Naz is, again, he can shoot some stuff outside. He's not like a bad shooter, but you'd rather have Cat there instead to help spread the floor. So I think that hurts him a bit, and the turnovers have been a problem. So I don't know, maybe Cat coming back could help Ant a little bit, even at that 7.7K price tag. AP, how about you? What do you think of the Cat situation, and how are you handling this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's doubtful. 99.7% of the time when a player is doubtful, they typically don't play. So I'm going to work under that assumption. But sure, it's something to keep an eye on. What it does hurt is Naz Reid, who's 4.8K in a phenomenal play against the Clippers, who have, no front court depth tonight. I mean, no size. He should absolutely dominate Serge Ibaka down there in the paint. And then they don't really have anyone else. I mean, it's an absolute smash spot. Same with Anthony Edwards. Like, the Clippers don't have any rim protection. Much better matchup for him. And the thing about Edwards, man, the usage is there. Just look at it. Like, his usage is so much higher, almost 9 to 10% higher, which means the ball is in his hands far more times. And that's because D'Lo's out, Cat's out, mainly D'Lo. But yeah, I'm gonna go right back to Anthony Edwards. He's the type of player, when his shot falls, when he's hitting those shots, everything else picks up for him. You know, he's getting more assists, he's getting more rebounds. When he's not hitting a shot, it's like all those stats, those peripheral stats, fall off. So I definitely love Ant here. I love that, man. Ownership projections on him are really low. And yeah, I'm going to go right back to it. I know coming off 2 duds, third time's a charm is how I'm treating it. Yeah,
I wouldn't. What do you have on ownership on him? Because I wouldn't trust it completely. But what do you got on him?
I don't know. I mean, I'm showing like 6%, 8%. Is that like way low?
Yeah, I don't know. I just, the reason why I think it is because I think forward is, there's no spend up forwards that people are excited about. And if you do spend up, he naturally falls into that category. And I think he hits some of the optos. And I think that matters a lot when it comes to his ownership today. And I do agree with you. Like, if his shots are falling, that's the key. The problem is when the shot isn't falling, it's just the wide range of outcomes for him is really tough. So just understand the ceiling is there, but the floor is there too. Like, don't be mad if Ant goes for like 30.
I was looking at an old number. I'm showing 20%.
All right. Yeah.
That looks a little bit more right.
Yeah, that makes, I was thinking like maybe 10 or 15, but then I thought that could be wrong too, based on what I was looking at, because I thought it could be different. But okay, well, we got the likes up, which is awesome. So we got it to 282. We got 568 watching. So we got to give out those plays of the day. And I'm going to hop in first with my play of the day. And it's a 10-game slate. I feel like for the most part, we can give almost anyone, as long as it's not like, the highest owned guy or anything like that. But I think my guy is a good option. I also think I don't know if the ownership's gone up, but I think he does help leverage another play on the slate. But you could even play both together, and I wouldn't say it's crazy. I'm going to go with Jaron Tate at 5.2K. A lot of people will be playing Daniel Tice, I'm sure, but I don't love forward today. And I think that at power forward, I think he's a really great option, and he has the upside to hit 40 fantasy points. I think he can get even 50 fantasy points. I mean, we saw him get 70 at one point in a different situation, but I like him. Jaron Tate is my guy at 5.2K. So that'll be my play of the day. Let's go to you, Hoop. Give me your guy. Who do you got? Who is the play of the day?
The Rich Parents play of the day. We're going to go to that Hawks Trailblazers game. I'm going with Clint Capella. 40 minutes last time out. Very encouraging. No need to worry about any sort of limited minutes for him. Really good matchup. I mean, he should absolutely smash this Trailblazers front court. So give me Clint Capella as the Rich Parents play of the day.
All right, AP, let's see who you got here. I know you like maybe running some Hawks back, so hopefully Hoop didn't steal Clint Capella from you, but who is your guy on this slate? Who is the play of the day?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of torn. So there's a chance he doesn't end up in my core. Because obviously, like, I'll see it from time to time. Like, oh, why wasn't this player, he was their play of the day, but he's not in their core in their main build. Look, we got over an hour until lock. Things change. The slate is definitely going to change. So just wanted to address that. I'm going to go, even though the matchup is tough against KD, but I'm going to go Jaron Jackson. I think the Grizzlies, they're going to need him to produce. We've seen these stretch 4 type bigs do well against this Nets team. If Jackson gets hit in his shot early, and if he stays out of foul trouble, I think he could have a big night here.
Yep, I like the call. Yeah, I mean, things change too, obviously, like you said, with the plays. And like, if one thing changes, it can change the entire slate. Just change the kind of route that you are going. So yeah, but I do think I'm definitely doing my best to get some Jaron Tate in my life on this slate. Curious to see how the news shakes out. I don't think we had really anything else come by that was crazy. I know Eric Gordon got ruled available, but the Up to Lock show, they'll take care of you the rest of the way. I believe JSU is on it. I believe K Falik is on it. And I think it's Draft Cheat. Don't hold me to it though. Don't know for certain. But yeah, check out that. It's going to be a great show. But that'll wrap it up for us. Thanks a lot for joining us. For me, Mangone, AP, and Hoop. We will see you guys later.